Welcome to the Ashes into Beauty podcast with your host, Stephanie Marie Laswell, divorce concierge at The Divorce Life.
Hello, listeners. Thank you for tuning in today. I am going to talk to you today about the mediation process and kind of give you a little bit of tips and understanding about what mediation is and kind of how you can prepare yourself for it. I find a lot of times with divorce, people don't know what to expect. And they're asking questions on how long is this going to take and what happens when I go to mediation and when will these feelings stop? And there's a lot of unknowns that come with divorce. And so I feel like when I can help educate people on kind of what to expect, it takes a little bit of the emotional aspect of just the unknown of divorce out. And when we know what to expect a little bit, then we can better prepare ourselves for what's about to come. And with anything in divorce, it's a very highly emotional time in our life. And we want to approach it with as much emotional intelligence and putting our thinking cap on as possible as we're going through some of these big decisions in the divorce process. And so coming at it prepared as much as possible will help us not only get through the process more quickly and probably with a lot less money involved. And so we're just going to dive in to what does mediation look like. People are actually starting to move more towards going through the mediation process, and courts are actually asking people to go through mediation even a couple of times. If you can't come to an agreement with a first round of mediation, it's not uncommon for the court to send you back to mediation a second time or a third time. So it is becoming more and more common practice to have individuals, couples settle on the terms of their divorce outside of the courtroom. One, the courtroom costs more. It costs the taxpayers more when we go through the court process. And the court really believes that as a couple, you know what is best for your situation. You know you've been together how long, you know your kids, you know your financial situations, you know what employment looks like, and they want to empower you to make those decisions outside of the courtroom. And there's a chance that you'll probably be a little bit more at peace with the outcome if you can get it done outside of the courtroom than leaving it up to the courts to decide for you. So let's just talk about a mediator real quick. A mediator goes through a state certification process. A mediator is a neutral party that is present in the conversation to facilitate and make sure that there is a fair process in that negotiation aspect, because that's what mediation is you're there to negotiate the details of undoing your marriage. A lot of times I tell my clients to look at a divorce as a business transaction. And that's how I help them have a mindset going into the divorce of this is no longer my person. This is somebody that I'm doing a business transaction with. And it kind of helps them take out that emotional aspect and looking at their spouse as a partner. And it takes a little bit of the shock out of it when you can look at that person now as a business partner when they start to do things that you wouldn't expect them to do. Because I will give you that expectation up front. Going through the divorce process, you are probably going to see a different side of your spouse than you've ever seen before. And so just kind of expect that might happen. Not only that, but you yourself might act in ways that you've never seen yourself act before. And there's a good chance that you won't recognize those until after the fact. And it's hindsight and you're looking back on how you acted during your divorce process and kind of questioning who you were during that time. And that is okay. Give yourself some grace. But what's not going to necessarily happen in a mediation process, while they're there to make sure there's a fair process, They're not necessarily there to make sure that there is a fair outcome. For one, everybody's idea of fair that is involved in this process is going to look different. What is fair to me might not be fair to you. And so we just need to make sure that the process is done fairly. A mediator is a negotiator. And like I've said, that's what we're there to do. We are there to negotiate the terms of the divorce. A mediator is not a judge. A mediator may or may not be a licensed lawyer. A mediator is not there to represent either side or party. And they're also not there to weigh in on the character or the behavior of one person or the other. So you're going to save yourself a lot of time and money if you can keep those, I'm just going to say character jabs out of the conversation of negotiation. The more that you can stick to the details of the things that we're actually trying to split, the better it's going to be and the quicker that the process will go. So a good way for you to kind of prepare to go into a mediation process is to make sure that you have collected all the data that you need. What are all the shared things that you need to discuss that you've accumulated in this marriage? What does it look like for you guys in regards to splitting time with the children? Make sure that you have as much data in front of you as possible and make sure that you understand and that you've looked at it well. Do some research. Most certainly call other professionals. They are going to give you a lot of insight into what it does look like for me to split my insurance on my car. Can I even get approved for car insurance on my own? I want to keep the house. So you definitely need to go talk to a lender if that's the case, if there's still a mortgage on your home. Do you qualify to keep the home? If you can have these conversations ahead of going into a mediation process, then you're going to be able to make a lot better decisions based on intelligence and not emotions. Sometimes we base our decisions in the divorce process on emotions, and emotions run very, very high, and they're all over the place when we're going through a divorce. And so what we need to do is really have all the data so that we can look it over. We can say, this is what my situation looks like, and then come to a conclusion on what is most important to you based on your beliefs, based on your values, based on your life circumstances, your employment. All of those things go into consideration when we're looking at this process of negotiation through mediation. You want to come up with what is most important to you. What is your motivation? What is your interest? And then run through a couple of different scenarios. And you might even need to run through those scenarios with those professionals that you hire to be on your team. Some of the professionals that you need to seek out will consult you for free and no charge. Some of them will charge you a fee in order to go through some of these details with you. But I promise that it will pay off in the long run if you have this information up front ahead of time, then hindsight. Then also a good thing for you to do is just to role play going through the mediation process. To have a couple of scripts that you have on hand that you're ready to say and to whatever comes up in the conversation in the negotiation. For an example, might be, no, that's not going to work for me. Yes, I accept that, but I would like for X, Y, and Z to be changed. Role playing will help kind of take some of those nerves out, and having some of those scripts ready and available will kind of give you language that you can feel confident saying. Not only that, but it's okay for you to tell the mediator that you need time to think about it. I recommend taking some paper so that you can write things down and jot down notes. Taking a little fidget toy, if that would help you in your nerves, anything that's going to help you stay calm and in your thinking cap mode rather than your emotions taking over. Do those things, prepare in those ways so that you can go in and stay leading with intelligence over emotions. You're also going to want to work on your confidence. And with confidence, I mean confidence going into it as I am in control of my divorce. And I understand that there might be some fear there going into the room because maybe you feel like there's a power play going on with your spouse that has played out in the marriage. And maybe you felt like you were the weaker partner in that relationship. This is a time to really work on your confidence and going in and saying, this is what I'm seeking. And I understand why. Understanding why you're seeking what you are and making sure that it aligns with your values is very important. But also that you have gone through this process. You've looked at the numbers. You've looked at the data. You've played out scenarios so that you can go in confidently saying, I know that I can make this work. I've looked at the risk, I've assessed the risk, and I am willing to take on these risks. That right there is confident, will give you confidence to go into the mediation process, ready to ask for what you want and what your interests are. Confidence doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get what you want. You're going to have some negotiables as well and understand why that is a negotiable or why that is not negotiable for you. Understanding that why. And then also understanding if you don't come to an agreement in that mediation process, what is it going to cost you? What are the costs that come with coming to a place of non-agreement, and quite possibly the next step would be going to the courtroom? Do you have the funds to hire a lawyer to represent you in the courtroom? Do you have the funds to pay for the extra court fees that will be coming up with that? So asking yourself, where do I draw the line? What am I going to put my foot down and fight for? And understanding that that will more than likely come with a dollar sign attached to it. And whatever you come up with is, what is best for you. You know what is best for your kids. And you know what fight you want to fight. You just have to understand what's going to come with that fight. And if you can accept that, then I say move forward confidently. Also having boundaries in the mediation room, boundaries with yourself, boundaries with the mediator, with your spouse, just kind of going ahead and kind of thinking through scenarios where you feel like, I know my spouse might do X, Y, and Z, and being prepared for that, because sometimes not everybody goes into mediation and wanting an amicable outcome, right? Sometimes you're going to have somebody in there that's going to know how to push your buttons. And so working on those boundaries, working on that confidence, working on that emotional intelligence is all going to help you go in prepared and come across as a strong person that is sitting in the seat because you are there with a proposal. You are there to negotiate an outcome. And that is your main focus for that time in that space. And then when you're kind of thinking about what you want to negotiate, not only consider your own interests, but also consider what you think the other person's interest might be. What are they coming to the table? Why are they motivated with the things that they are? Chances are that you're sitting across the table from somebody that has other motivations than you do. Maybe somebody travels a lot of the time, and so their motivation is to have less kiddo time, or maybe somebody doesn't want to pay child support, so that's why they're wanting more 50-50 time with the kids. So kind of just think about the other party and think about what they would be bringing to the table as motivation, and really be there to listen and listen for those motivation aspects underneath what they're actually saying, because sometimes it doesn't come out clear. These are all ways that you can prepare yourself to go into a mediation process. But the more knowledge that you have going to any divorce process, the better off that you're going to be. Education is power. And I definitely want to encourage you to not be afraid to ask questions, whether you're asking questions to a professional that is on your divorce team, your lawyer, your mediator. If you don't understand what's going on, if you don't understand the process, if you don't understand what the law says about what your rights are, ask questions until you do. Get really, really good with being curious and seeking to understand what the process is about and what your rights are. And that will empower you to take control over your divorce. This is your divorce. It's not your mom's divorce. It's not your lawyer's divorce. It's not the mediator's divorce. You have to live with the outcome of the divorce. And so you are the best decision. You are the best person to make the decisions surrounding the outcomes of your divorce. And how you show up in your divorce will leave a legacy. And I just want you to be so proud of how you handle your divorce, that you look back on it in 5 or 10 years and that you can say that you are proud of how you handled it, and that your kiddos are going to look back and say, Mom handled that divorce so well. And I really believe that educating yourself will just put you a notch up so that you understand the process and understanding what to expect. There have been so many times that I've had clients come to me and they're just shocked about how the other person has responded, or their lack of response, or they thought they had come to an agreement in mediation and then the other person flipped a switch and decided they were going to basically throw the whole thing out. So time is of the essence when it comes to these divorce steps and proceedings. Some things are not in our control, and sometimes we have a timeline that we are handed to us and we just have to work within it. But I definitely would encourage you all to take a mindset of looking at it as a business transaction, educate yourself on the process, hire a divorce team and know who is going to be on your team, and ask all the questions that you need to ask until that you feel comfortable and confident in how you're moving forward through your divorce process. And if you need help going through any of this, preparing for mediation, I am always here to help you. I help clients get ready to go and have conversations in mediation, or to talk with lawyers and hire lawyers so that they have as much of the emotional stuff worked out before they go and hire a lawyer and spend time, vomiting the emotions in a lawyer's room, or gathering all the information that they'll need in order to take to a mediator so that they can have everything worked out as much as possible ahead of time, and just making sure that we're talking to the right professionals so that we have a clear picture of what it actually looks like. I'm always here to help. I offer a complimentary call as our first call, and I can kind of hear your story, hear where you're at, and then let you know if I'm able to help you, or if I feel like I wouldn't be able to help you, I would definitely let you know that. And we can get your divorce journey started. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Until next time, radiate love.
For more information on services or divorce resources provided by The Divorce Life, you can follow me on Facebook or Instagram, or find us at www.thedivorcelife.com. Thank you for tuning in and listening, and a big thanks to my producer, Jazz, at the Possibilities Podcast Center.